Thank you for participating in this interview as a small contribution to International Women's Day 2014. The aim of this project is to give us the opportunity to communicate with inspirational female leaders within the UN system.
We hope these interviews can be a tool to empower young women like us who will be inspired and motivated to achieve successes by the example of yourself as a role model. This supports the theme for this year's International Women's Day. Equality for women means progress for all.
We are excited by the opportunity to talk with leading women at the very top of the UN system in order to gain insight into how they achieve their positions of leadership and learn about their experiences and challenge in doing so.
Hi, my name is Rosie and I'm 9 years old and I study at Blackheath High Junior School in London, UK.
Hi, my name's Annabelle. I'm 16 years old and I study at Blackheath High Senior School in London, UK.
Hi, my name's Ashvini and I'm 10 years old and I study in Blackheath High School Junior in London.
Thank you for inviting me here. I'm absolutely delighted to participate in this, and I wish when I'd been your age I'd had similar role models to look at, but they weren't around at the time.
So, what is a typical working day like in the life of Angela Kane, and what is your favourite part of the job?
My working day really is a very long one. Is a very long one. I started this morning at 8 o'clock with a video conference with one of our operators of a mission who is in the Middle East, so there's a time difference always, and it just goes on. I've already had 2 meetings and I've had 2 conference calls by telephone before I'm now starting to talk to you, and it's only 10 o'clock or just after 10 o'clock. And it goes on. There are a lot of meetings and very often there are also official lunches that I attend with either colleagues or with ambassadors or visiting dignitaries. And then it goes on into the afternoon with more meetings, signing papers, and very often there's also a social program in the evening. You have receptions or you have official dinners, like tonight there's also an official dinner. And so it's a very long day. But if you love your job, it is just wonderful to be there doing that.
What is it like to be a woman working for the UN across countries with different cultural expectations of women?
It's very exciting to be working for the United Nations. I started working at the UN because I believe in what it does, and I wanted to do my part to contribute to that. If you've grown up in one country and then you've traveled a little bit around the world, and you see what exciting opportunities there are. And when I grew up, of course, it was very different. Then I'm a very different generation from your generation. You have a lot of opportunities. In my time, it was more limited. But you can contribute it. I have had a fairly large number of jobs at the United Nations. I've worked in political affairs, I've worked in management, I've worked in conference affairs, I've been in peacekeeping missions, I've worked in development fields, been posted to other countries, and now I'm back in New York. And I think that gives you a breadth of experience, and also you contribute from each of these experiences to the task at hand. And that, I think, is very exciting because you feel you can actually, in your own special and maybe limited but very important way, make a contribution.
What was life like when you were in high school, and what was your dream job then?
My dream job, I did not really have a dream job. I think it took quite a while when I was grown up to find out what I really wanted to do. First of all, when you finish your studies, you are really looking for a job, and you can't always be choosy and say, I only want that one job that really interests me. So maybe sometimes you have to take a detour and you have to take a different job until you pursue and get the job that you really want. But on the other hand, that's really what life is all about. You make the best of the opportunities that are presented to you, and then you grasp them, and then you ride with it. And I think ultimately the issue is never give up hope, never give up optimism, always try to pursue what it is that makes you happy and that you really want to do. I think that's the most overriding goal that I always had and that I've always pursued, and that served me very well.
As young women, we are taught to be resilient. Can you tell us of the times when you had to be resilient? How do you deal with sad and upsetting events and overcome setbacks? What is the best advice you've ever received?
I think sad events occur in everyone's life, and whether it's in the family or whether it's friends or whether it's on the job, there are always setbacks, there are always disappointments, and I think you just have to do your best to overcome them. One of the most important issues in my life has always been is that you can't become depressed about it, or you can't be overcome by it. You just kind of have to say you're going to work your way through it. And I think you also have to accept that it may take a while. I remember there was one time when I was passed over for a promotion, and I was very, very upset about it. But on the other hand, if you just let that get you down and you show the anger and the resentment and the upset and you don't do your job very well anymore, that becomes a real problem. So I always feel that you have to work through it. You have to sort of say, fine, it's a temporary setback. Life goes on, make the best of what you have. And you have here in the United States, you have a saying, it says, when life serves you lemons, make lemonade. And I think that's the best way of looking at something. Just work through it. And if it's a setback in your personal life, or if you have a loss in the family, you just work through it as well. It's very sad. Everyone understands it's sad. And yes, it'll get better with time, but it does take time. And I think you just have to accept that it does take time. But the best advice that I can give is work through it. Just kind of look at the brighter side. And don't harbor grudges. I think that's another issue that I think is very important. There will be things that you find that are unjust, that might happen to you, that you might be slighted or that you might be passed over. But if you let that affect the quality of your life, that's the worst thing that can happen to you. Just plow on and look to the brighter side of life and don't dwell on those things. That to me is the best way of dealing with issues like that.
One of our learning pillars at Blackheath High School is enterprise. What advice would you give to girls at school on how to succeed on the world stage? What advice would you give to us on how we engage with important global issues and help the global community?
Global issues are so important these days. The world is much more interconnected. You have access to travel. You have access to the internet. You know a lot more what's going on than I did when I grew up. We had very limited ways of informing ourselves. The best advice I can give you is learn as much as you can. I've always found it very helpful when you travel, learn languages, improve yourself, learn something from every task that you have, from every job that you will get. There's always something that can be learned. If you stop learning, I think that's when you resign yourself and say, I can't do anymore, or I don't want to improve myself anymore. Be curious about the world. Just go out there. I mean, that to me is what enterprise is all about. It's not really industrial or commercial activity, but you have to be enterprising for yourself. You have to set maybe not always goals for yourself, but you have certain aspirations. What is it that you want to do? What is it that stimulates you? What is it that really you'd like to do? And see if you can go for it. My mother always told me when I was a little girl, she said, "No you have, yes you can get." And I think that's a wonderful motto. So don't just take things for granted. Ask for things. Try to see what you can do to get there on your own. So if you have a no, even though the no has not been stated, try to get a yes.
Thank you. Who inspired you when you were in school, and who inspires you now?
Inspired me when I was in school, I think that I grew up in a very small town in Germany, and there weren't very many female role models around, and there weren't any working women around. It was something that simply did not happen in my town. And so I had a few female teachers. They were women teachers, and they were unmarried, which was already unusual because most women were married. And so they had a certain philosophy, and they always inspired me to sort of say, yes, you can study, yes, you can learn, yes, you can improve yourself, and that's what they have done. And they had a fulfilling life. And I always thought that that was very important, to have that, to see that, and not only to have male models, but also women role models. And when I look around now, there are many people who inspire me. If someone achieves a breakthrough, if someone improves the world, it's not always the people who get always the headlines. There are many people that I encounter in my work who make their own contribution to that. And I admire that, because there is a self-motivation behind it that is very, very important. And that's what I mean by saying you have to look at your own goals, and you have to see, how can I best implement them? How can I best reach them? And you stretch yourself in that direction. That to me is very, very important. And there are many people like that. And you just have to look at those people. Don't look at the ones who are depressive or who are negative. Look to the ones who are positive, who want to make a better world, and who also want to educate and improve and contribute to making the world globally a better place.
Innovation is one of our learning pillars. In what ways do you think creatively in your day-to-day job?
What I think creatively in my day-to-day job is always to come up with solutions. And let me tell you, when you're working for someone or you're working for yourself, it's always an idea not only to address issues as they come along by saying, oh, this cannot be done or that cannot be done. But think about something that you can suggest how it can be done. Is there a way, think out of the box, is there a way that you can actually do something, that you can propose a solution? And I will also tell you that when you work with people and someone who is working with you comes up with solutions rather than shooting everything down, that's a wonderful person to work with, because you're looking for solutions. You're not looking at negative ideas to say, no, you cannot do this, this is impossible. You have to find the positive. One of the most interesting jobs I had was when we had the peace negotiations in El Salvador between the government and the guerrillas. And I was in New York, my boss was on the ground with the negotiations, with the two, government and the guerrillas. And he would put questions to me as they would come up in the negotiations, and he'd say, now, find a solution for this. What can you come up with that is a way out of this? Like, there are two opposing positions, so how can you get out of this? And I think that was a wonderfully creative way of addressing it. And that is something that I would think about in terms of innovation. It isn't always scientific or technology innovation. It's also innovation in terms of approaching a problem to say, how can we get out of it? What can we think about to make this solvable? And I think that's the best way to approach issues.
Wow.
Thank you very much for letting us interview you today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck to
Bye.
Bye-bye, and good luck to all of you. Bye-bye.
Good luck.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.